our next set of lecture notes, and we're going to pick up right where we left off now that we're done with this lab, and we're going to start looking at continental drift, which we currently refer to as plate tectonics. Now we'll talk about that a little later, why the name has changed. But we're going to start off with just the history of this whole idea, and it sort of began with this guy right here. It actually began a little bit before him, but this is the guy we give the most credit to. This right here is Alfred Wegener. I know the last name starts with a W, but it's pronounced Wegener. He's of German origin, and back in 1912 he proposed this idea that the continents are moving, and he sort of focused on the idea that at one point in time all the continents were together in this large mega mass of land called Pangaea. Now, his thoughts weren't taken very lightly at the time. A lot of people, a lot of scientists did not pay much attention to this, and they disregarded what he said. One primary reason was he was a meteorologist. He was a meteorologist that was doing geology, and it probably wasn't looked too highly upon at the time. So his ideas went unnoticed for quite some time, but today we know that they are actually true. So going back to what he originally thought, the idea of one large landmass called Pangaea, and it being surrounded by Panthalassus, it's a mouthful, which is all seas, and he sort of based his ideas off of this, and he started building his evidence to support the idea that continents drifted apart over millions of years, and we're going to take a look at those pieces of evidence. The first piece is the obvious piece, that they seem to fit together like puzzle pieces, this nice way that South America fits into Africa and so on. Now this idea was not originally his. In 1908, another amateur geologist, Frank Bursley Taylor, really first brought this idea up, but it was disregarded then too. Alfred Wegener came back and used it as one of his pieces of evidence, and it was looked at a little bit more closely. You'll notice here that there's certain parts, like you don't see Central America or Mexico. These areas were underwater when Pangaea formed. Pangaea broke up about 180 million years ago, formed probably about 240 million years ago. So a lot of what we see today is actually underwater, and a lot of things that are underwater today, like you see in the light gray here, were actually above water then. So it kind of helps us envision.
Second piece of evidence he used, and I'm not going to talk a lot about this because we're going to do a lab on this, but we'll just look at it. But this distribution of fossils that go across continents, and the fossils of plants and animals that wouldn't be swimming. So how did they move all the way from South America to Africa? Well, if you envisioned a Pangaea that was all one landmass, they didn't have to swim. They just walked. It was all one continent. Like I said, we'll come back to this and look at this with some more detail here when we come back into class. We're going to pick up on the third piece of evidence right here in the next lecture notes. My time's going to run up. So when you go to the next lecture, we'll start on evidence number 3.